SMU at Penn State. Penn State is 8.5-point favorites. This is the third ever meeting for the schools, each team with a win, and then there was a tie in this showdown as well.
Oof.
A Happy Valley wide out noon playoff game. Let me know how you're feeling about this one, Alan.
I think this is a truly neutral football game here, if I'm being really honest, because let's look at the way the teams have played this season in conference play, right? I don't think SMU has faced anybody like an Ohio State this year, but Penn
BYU and
State
Clemson has
did.
been their hardest ones, and they
Right.
lost both of them.
BYU, they lost. Clemson,
Mhm.
they lost. SMU is a great football team. They've
Yep.
blown people out of the water, and they've, just hung in there all season. Their first inaugural year in a major conference in the ACC.
Yep.
And they're up for the chip. Nothing to be despised. Rhett Lashley, fantastic head coach, right? Now, here's the thing. James Franklin and Penn State, they have a problem with big games. We know this. Now, they did muster up a really good hurrah, if you will, against Oregon, who beat Ohio State by like a few points. I think maybe one or two earlier in the year. Most like viewed matchup of the year, I would say. Ohio State and Oregon. That was my favorite game of this year. One of them.
Right.
Oregon's been the best team consistently all year. Penn
sure.
State played very good against them. Drew Lar is getting better every game he plays. I think Penn State takes the victory in this one because of the dismal display that SMU put on in the Clemson matchup. They were caught with their pants down. They were this good team all season, and then you get a 9-3 team on your slate,
Right.
and all of a sudden you freeze up. What is this? In the ACC championship of all games, this is
Right.
the time to show out.
Right.
And not disrespecting Clemson, they've been dominant for a decade outside of my Knowles, right? Jameis Winston and last year being the two, right? Listen, man. I think Penn State walks away with this one clean.
Yeah.
Very clean. Because
Yeah.
as much as I love what SMU has put on display in the ACC in their first year, as much as I love the team camaraderie with the Mustangs, I just don't think it's enough to get past the likes of the Penn State. Because it's a home game, because it's a whiteout game, because it's it means
First round of the
more.
playoffs. Yep.
It's the first round of the playoffs. They're pissed about how they handled Ohio State. They're pissed about how they handled Oregon. Drew Alar's got something to prove. That guy's going to play on Sundays. Believe me, I think so.
Really?
I really think he could.
Wow.
I really think he could.
Yeah.
Because he just gets better week to week,
Yeah.
And I got the Penn State by 7-14.
Yeah.
Between 7 and 14.
I'll be taking Penn State to win this one as well. I think the fact that it's a Happy Valley wideout playoff game just says everything for the Nittany Lions here. Penn State's here to stay after, as well. They've 100% earned my respect after the way that they played Oregon, because I had said a few weeks ago that they were boring. They were overrated. I wasn't really caring for what James Franklin and Drew Aller was doing. And, yes, they've got nice players like Abdul Carter and Nick Singleton. No question about it. But after they lose close to Oregon, putting on the fireworks show, I just thought that was a really great show of what they're capable of, especially with the OC and Andy Kotelnicki, and how it's going to carry them through the playoffs. And SMU made a great comeback in the ACC championship game as well against Clemson, showing they've got the offense and the speed to compete when it's needed, even though that they should be able to pull that out on all aspects with the number 8 offense in the country. Excuse me, at 37 points per game. But when you look at SMU's schedule, when you talk about them not really being tested or playing anybody this year, 6 of their 8 ACC games were against teams who were at or below 500 in conference play versus Penn State, played Ohio State, played Oregon in the Big Ten championship, and actually was
Right.
able
They went
to
to a
hold their
championship.
own. Versus SMU, had to make a comeback on a Clemson versus a game that like SMU was that top 10 team, and then the fact that again 6 of their 8 conference games were against teams who were at or below 500 in conference play, so they didn't play a whole lot of reputable teams this year.
Mind you,
Penn State's
SMU was projected to smoke too
Yep.
in the playoff brackets, remember?
Yep. Yes, they were. Penn State's defense, top 8 in yards and points per game, along with yards per play as well. And they're a great rushing offense with over 5 yards per carry and over 200 rush yards per game as well. Abdul Carter, who I thought it was kind of crazy that he wasn't able to lock up either Defensive Player of the Year awards, who has a great amount of pressures, sacks, 10 sacks actually. Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year, double digit tackles for loss as well. And then you have Nick Singleton, who has about 1,100 all-purpose yards, 13 touchdowns. He's a great weapon out of the backfield and at the wide receiver position potentially for the Nittany Lions as well. I think Carter and Singleton are 2 players to really watch in this game. But unfortunately, SMU is undisciplined like Tennessee as well. They're bottom 15 in penalties and penalty yards per game. Now, when you look at Kevin Jennings, their quarterback, who can be speedy, can be dynamic. He had some great plays in the championship game against Clemson. He does have 10 turnovers in his last 6 games, and SMU is 0-2 versus top 25s this year, albeit it is BYU and Clemson. That still does matter for them. So again, Penn State's home field advantage, it could possibly be cold, if not snowing the day before. It's going to be insanely loud to disrupt SMU's
Mhm.
rhythm, and they don't lose games that they're supposed to win. I know that sounds kind of weird because James Franklin hasn't been able to win the big games. Most of the time, though, they haven't really been expected to win those because of how they played in them over the years
Right.
and in recent memories. I think this is a game that Penn State will win. They're
I
supposed
think
to
it gets
win.
them
They
over the
should
hump.
win, and they're going to take away the victory here from SMU by the tune of, I think, about 17 to 14 points as well.